Hey guys, so I kind of wanted to do a video where I talk about my favorite Juvias Place palettes slash which palette is right for you. Now I have every single eyeshadow palette that they have in their range, and I'll continue to buy all of their eyeshadow palettes. I haven't tried any of their like single eyeshadows. I haven't tried any of their brushes, their powder highlights or single highlight compacts, single blushes, things like that. I only have palettes of theirs, and that's their eyeshadow palettes and their blush highlight palettes. Anything else I don't have. So any of you who watch me, you know that I absolutely adore Juvias Place, and if you want me to do a video where I talk about all of their eyeshadow palettes, because this is not all of them, I'm just talking about my faves and which ones I think stand apart from the rest of the collection. But if you wanted me to do a video where I discuss every single palette that they have in their range up to date, just let me know and I will do that, because I can talk about Juvias Place all day. Okay, so if you want to see what my favorites are slash which one would be right for you, then just keep on watching. So I've got 8 of the palettes out of 14. So we're talking about 8 of them rather than all 14. As I said, if you want me to make that video where we talk about all 14, that's fine. I can do that, okay? Now the first ones are going to be in no particular order, and then the last 2 are going to be my ultimate favorites out of their whole entire collection. So let's just jump straight into it. Okay, so the first one I'm talking about is the Magic by Juvias. Now this one, they have a large version, which is this one, which was the original, and they also have a smaller version. I wish I knew that they were going to make a smaller version, otherwise I would have gotten that one rather than this big behemoth of a thing. This is nice, but I know that I'm never going to get through all of this shadow. Not that I'm aiming to get through any of these palettes, but this is what the palette looks like. And the reason why I really like this is because at the top you have all your warm shades, and at the bottom you've got all of your cooler shades. So if you are somebody who likes to dabble between having warm tones and cooler tones, but you don't want to get 2 different palettes, this I think will be great for you, because you've got all of your warms at the top and all of your cools at the bottom. And let's be honest, you can mix and match whatever you like. I tend to do that. Like, I love doing that. I don't just like to stick to warms and cools on their own. I do like to dabble and mix and blend and do all of that good stuff. But this I think is great for somebody who likes warms, who likes cools, who doesn't want to spend too much money on 2 different palettes. You've got it all in one palette. And on top of that, these are bright kind of colors, and they've got tons of shimmers. Their shimmers I find are the best. They're a lot better than their mattes. Their mattes can be hits and misses, but their shimmers I find like 100% of the time are always great. Next we have the Masquerade. This is the size that the Magic palette comes in with the mini. So if you was to get the mini Magic palette, this will be the size that you would get, and this is the size that I wish that I had that palette in, but I don't. It is what it is. I'm not gonna cry about it. It is what it is. So here we have, it's a very similar situation to the Magic palette, where you have all of your naturals at the bottom and then your pops of color at the top. So this isn't a warm tone, cool tone situation. This is more of a naturals versus pops of color. So if you like to go between having natural eyeshadow one day and having bright, bold, crazy makeup the next day, this is going to help you to create those kinds of looks, because you can do both. You can wear this to work and then you can wear this on the weekend. You've got all of your transition shades here at the bottom, which again you can use alongside these ones here at the top as well. Next we have the Douce. This for a while was one of my favorites, because this is just so pretty. It's just so girly. My favorite shades, just looking at it, this whole row here is just so pretty. They look amazing together. This shadow here, Puff, I do wish it was a little bit more pink, because it pulls a little bit more on the silvery side on my lid. I do wish it was just a little bit more pink when I'm using these 3 together. But aside from that, it's still a very, very beautiful shade nonetheless. The inspiration behind this palette here was French sweets and stuff like that. So that's why you got the names like chocolat, macaron, Creme. When they first had developed this palette, these two were different. You see this one's called Custard and this one's called Berry Mousse. So this was actually supposed to be Custard and this was supposed to be Berry Mousse. So I guess they changed around the order and forgot to change the name on the actual palette. So really this is Custard and really this is Berry Mousse, which makes a lot more sense rather than this being called Custard. Like that makes absolutely no sense. But regardless of all of that, this is just a beautiful palette to look at in itself. Like when I first saw it, I was just like, oh my gosh, I need this palette. It's just so beautiful. I have created so many gorgeous looks with this palette, and also as you can see, there's a lot of pops of color. Like you have this bright pink in the center there, you've got this shimmery green, which is just has amazing color payoff, and then you've got this dark brown here, which I just tend to use in the very corner of my eyes or in the crease, or even just to line the lower lashes. This is just kind of like a fun, I just want to do something cute, I want to do something fun, I want to do something just girly. This is definitely the palette that I reach for when I am trying to create those kinds of looks. Next we have the Zulu. Oh my gosh, I think this was the palette that really made me say, wow, I want to try Juvias Place. Now, when I first saw this palette, it was these two shades and this shade here which drew me to it. The rest of the shades, they're nice, but they weren't as nice as these purpley pinks here at the bottom. And I decided, you know what, I actually want to get this palette, I want to try it out. And when I first got it, I wasn't that impressed by it. I just found that they didn't swatch very well and they didn't go on the eyes very well, and I had to learn how to use this palette. So I have used the purple in this eyeshadow look today, and I've also used the Afrique palette for the rest of the colors that I have on my eyes, but that palette is not going to be featuring in this video. Anyway, so if you want really bright, bold, vibrant colors, go for this palette, simply because if you use a brush and you stamp the eyeshadow on, you are going to get such amazing color payoff. Like, it will not let you down. You may have to like pack it on and really work it on to the eye, but once you've done that, the colors are just amazing. They're phenomenal. Something I have said is that the swatches, they just don't really sell the palette, and there are some other eyeshadow palettes that I have found that same fault with, and this is one of those. But if you are just going to pack that color on, this is really going to have amazing color payoff. Next are the blush palettes. They have the Saharan Blush Palette Volume 1 and the Saharan Blush Palette Volume 2. Now I decided to get both, but just to show you, this is the first Saharan Blush Palette. And this one, as you can see, the colors are very bold. They're very deep. Now this is for blush, contour and highlight. So I'm sure, as you can imagine, this is for somebody who has a deeper skin tone to myself. Like if I was to use this in the way that it was intended for blush, for highlight, for contour, I would look absolutely crazy. I prefer to use this palette for eyeshadow rather than as contour, as highlight, as blush, because it just would not look right on me. This is amazing for somebody who has a deeper skin tone. I've seen people with deeper skin tones use this on their skin in videos, tutorials, and it looks amazing on deeper complexions. I'm telling you. The one which suits me a little bit better is the Saharan 2 blush palette. And as you can see, the shades are a lot lighter, but even still, like this shade here, Solar, I can't use that as a highlight. It's still too deep for my complexion. I do prefer to use Sober. These colors here on my cheeks look so good. Oh, and this one here, I haven't really used this as a blush, to be fair. And then we've got this one here, Yara, which is a contour shade. I don't really use that for my contour. I prefer to have something just a tad deeper for my contour, but I guess in the colder months this would suffice. But again, I could use that as like a transition shade, because at the end of the day, these are all powders. They're all pressed powders. You can use them however you wish. So if you're wanting to use it as a bronzer, if you want to use it on as your eyeshadow, if you want to use it as contour, highlight, this, that, the other, you can use it however you want to use it. At the end of the day, it's just makeup, so there's no rules. Then my two most favorite Juvias Place palettes is the Warrior 1 and Warrior 2 palettes. Oh my gosh. So the Warrior 2 is the most recent, and this is their first all matte palette. This is just so gorgeous for autumn or fall, as you guys call it in the States. This is just so beautiful. Now this has a gray shade and also like a black shade, but this looks like a blue based black. Like it doesn't look black. But I absolutely adore this gray. I feel like when I'm doing a smoky look, I really like to draw for this gray because I can actually control how smoky my eyes are getting without going crazy, because you know that there's some black shades which, like, if you don't control it, it's going to just take over and you're gonna look crazy. This doesn't do that. This does not do that. And when I did the review on this palette, I wasn't expecting much from this palette, to be fair, because their mattes tend to be kind of like hit or miss. I found that these worked really well on my eyes, and I will leave that review link down below. But yeah, I absolutely adore this shade. I feel like all of these shades really blended so well together on my eyelids as well. And considering that this is an all matte shade, an all matte palette, and considering the history of their mattes, I'm actually really taken aback by quality of this palette. I don't know if they reformulated to make their mattes better, but I found that this was a hell of a lot better. It is what it is. Then my favorite of all of them, my favorite of the faves, is the original Warrior. This is just a gold lover's dream. Like, this is just so pretty. Oh, every eyeshadow look that I create with this palette is just banging. One of my favorite combinations with this palette is this in my crease, this on the outer and inner to create like a halo, and then this one in the very center. It just looks majestic and royal, and it just looks gorgeous. I just love it. I just absolutely love the way that that particular look looks. I have done an eyeshadow tutorial on that look, if I remember correctly, and if it is that, I will definitely link that down below. I adore this palette. I adore it. I think that if you love gold, if you love browns, if you just love gold for this palette. It's so pretty. It's so pretty, and this has just never let me down. It's never ever let me down. So those are all of my favorite Juvias Place eyeshadow palette / which palette is good for which type of person. As I said, there are another 6 palettes in the range. If you do want me to do a video where I discuss every single one of them, or 14 as it stands, let me know. Or I could wait a little bit longer, wait until they have like 20 and then make a video. I am looking to do an updated video on the Revolution chocolate bar palettes, because the last video that I did on those, I can't remember how many that they had, and now they've got so many. It's absolutely ridiculous. So I'm thinking of doing an update video on that, especially as now my lighting is a lot better as well. So let me know down below what you think of Juvias Place. Do you think that these are any palettes that you're going to get or potentially look at? I know that it can get really confusing when you have a look on their website, because they've got just so much stuff. Because I'm a collector of their stuff, it's like, at least I'm not having to buy and splurge all at once. Maybe that's an issue for some people who want to have the whole collection, but they just don't want to buy everything all at once. I don't know. Anyway, so let me know what you think of Juvias Place. Will you be buying anything? Are you gonna leave it? Do you reckon that anything has kind of like caught your attention? And if you like this video, give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.